Second half of the NBA season popping up, and hey, there's a couple things that we all gotta look forward to. Now we're getting into that home stretch. There ain't no time for games. There ain't no time for dilly dallying. There ain't nothing that we gotta come out here and we gotta ready and just keep our stuff to status quo. Now, with saying that, of course, some of the obvious things: Lakers and Warriors, are they gonna be able to do enough of a push to get themselves into the playoffs, or maintain themselves into the playing game? Um, right now, I was like, right now, I think they will match up against. I think it'd be Lakers and Kings and Warriors and uh, Mavs, I believe, for those, for the last couple spots. And I was like on a one off something like that, they could get in on something like that. I was like, and they just gotta stay maintained at that point. Now, with saying that, also, if you do get in, this is all I like. The West really seems like it's the old heads versus the new young guns. Cause at the top you got OKC, Minnesota, then you got the Clippers, and then you got like the Nuggets, Clippers, Suns, something like that. And but it's really just I was like outside of the Clippers and the Suns in a case. Kind of count Bill and KD as a little bit of old heads. Um, I was like, if the Lakers or Warriors got in their matchup against OKC and the Timberwolves, is there an actual chance? Now that's reading off into the future, but I'm just saying that's a possibility if they just get into the play-in. Because I do think that in a one-off game scenario, I'm like Kings versus Lakers, and if that stays the same, I was like, I think the Lakers might get them. I was like, I think they might get in. I think the Warriors, it might be a little more tougher. And I was like, against the Mavericks, man, that'd be a great game. Shoot out Luka and Steph. That'd be crazy. Um, but also to the other end of the top part of the spectrum, can the young ones still stay up there at the top? The West is really crowded, and everybody's sort of like really close to basically being in the spots and stuff like that. All it takes is a win streak, and all of a sudden you're there. So can the Timberwolves and OKC keep their dominance of being at the top? Can they just keep on going and don't let the Nuggets or any of them come up and take some of their spots and move them throughout the seeding? The East is really just about who outside the Celtics, who can get it right. Like, okay, like Cavaliers, they got a bunch of injuries, even though they've been able to move themselves up to number two. They still got a number of injuries that you want to make sure that's correct. I was like that corrected. The Bucks, I was like, you just hope that they can steer the ship enough to get things right when it needs to get right before the playoffs. You don't want none of this still being that we're not doing what we need to do, even though things have improved during this time. So you want to help. You want that to kind of go well. I was like Philly. You want Philly to basically see if they can maintain and see if Embiid can come back by playoff time. Can they hold in? They'll hold. They'll stay in the playoffs, but you don't want to have like a slippage where it's just like, ooh, you're on that fringe, that kind of thing. But you want to see if you can get in and stay well enough until maybe Embiid comes back. Um, with that, I was like, the Knicks. I was like, they sort of been they went on a little bit of a losing streak after a hot streak. And I was like, the injuries that they're sort of dealing with as well. So you're also hoping that they can get everything right. How they were sort of looking at the time where it was like, oh, they might be the second, third best team on the East, and now it's like, okay, cool. Now they just got to get everybody healthy enough time for the playoffs, and then after that, where can you go? Um, the Heat, because it's the Heat. They're always that team that's like, oh, they're down here, but you find that they're in the second round. Basically, like, are they gonna do enough to try to get higher up in the spots, or just be pretty good to maintain? Um, yeah, and that's pretty. I was like, that's really about it from the East to me, just because I was like, them other teams, just like Magic. I just feel like they're just young. I was like, I don't. I was like, cool to see them in there, but I don't think it's gonna be too much. Nobody talking about the Bulls and Hawks out here. The Pacers are very intriguing because once they sort of get into a game, I was like, look, they can either beat you by 20 or they're gonna lose by 20, all in the same manner. Um, but yeah, I was like, there's really nothing too deep. I was like, I mean, there ain't really too many individual stories, outside of the OGs of basically the league at this point. I was like, the Celtics is really just staying healthy. It is really staying healthy. The whole like to the time that they need to get to. Can they just stay healthy? But hey, that's always been sort of a problem with them. But they got enough pieces to where they should be able to, even if there is an injury, as long as it's not too substantial, they should be all right. But that's the only thing I'm really looking for, because I like at this point I think everything's sort of locked in key of who's going to stay in the picture of the window. This is pretty much who we're going to have, and it just basically just like for the West is going to be some of the new stars versus the old star, and the East it's just like, can everybody get right by the time the playoffs start? Because everybody seems like they got an issue or some type of trouble on that side of the ball. In a way that's different in the West. That's really, really different. But anyway, what do you think? What I was like, pull out something else that you can think of that you want to see for the rest of the part of the season. Maybe you got a particular team. But until then, I bid you adieu.